Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Think Different podcast. That's right, I am Will TLD, back again for another week here of the Think Different podcast. We are two former Apple retail employees here, combined with 20 years experience, talking about the world of Apple. But I am not alone this week. Yes, no, even though I am the heavyweight champion of fathers, there is always got to be a guy just behind you, and that is the former Apple creator, the retired book publisher, soccer mom recorder, Jurassic Park owner, the black coffee drinker, juror number 12, the retirement home president, the Keel Trout drummer, Mr. Frank Funk is here. But he's also second place in fathers. I mean, you're a father, and unfortunately, you don't have a championship to show, but right here, I have the official Father's Day Championship, which means I am the best father in the world.
Wow, that's pretty good.
It's official. Do you have a championship belt that could fight this, Frank? Do you want to challenge me for the Father's Day Heavyweight Championship?
No, I couldn't do that well.
Well, I'm going to put
how old is Luke now?
So Luke is now 18 months old.
18 months. Well, my baby will be 40 in January. 40 years, not 40 months. That's
wow.
Old.
Wow, you had babies. That means you had babies when you were 10.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So I'm going to put this belt down for those who on the audio podcast can't see it. But I'm going to also take my drink. We have my official creamy root beer Zevia, as it is delicious, by the way. Amazon accidentally sent this to me. I wanted a regular soda. They sent this by accident. Never had it. I had the cream soda, but I didn't have the creamy root beer. Dude, you have got to, if you like root beer, creamy root beer is the way to go.
Really? Okay. I'll have to let me write that down. Zevia.
Yeah, but you love Zevia. You have Zevia before. I don't know if you drink anymore, but... So first off, we want to thank everybody for subscribing not only to our podcast, but we have reached over 1,000 subscribers. That's right. It's a party time. We have over 1,000 subscribers. So we are so happy. And number one, we have to thank my man, Mr. Frank Funk, Mr. Keto Frank Funk here, because, of course, his video is the number one video. It should be the number one video on YouTube. Let's just be honest here. But it's not. But it's close. But it was because of your views of that numbers video and the impact that made to so many people. The comments that we get all the time about this video. 70,000 views. The number one Apple numbers video on YouTube is your video right now.
70,000 views on YouTube. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, is that cool or
good.
What? Yeah, and mine with the pages is 35. So you're over 100,000 people have watched our videos, just those two alone. And because of those two videos, we have made the impact for people to keep watching our content. So it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's a really great feeling, Will. I certainly never thought that we would reach 1,000 viewers or subscribers rather in this short of a time frame, and the views on our videos is really pretty outstanding. That's cool.
Yep.
Very pleased.
So please subscribe if you haven't already. We really would love that, and we're going to keep going. We just actually published a brand new video just this week. I have gone through the resume templates of Apple Pages on how to make a resume. So we really hope that you guys can check that out. I think I did a pretty good job on it. You know, Frank will watch it, although he doesn't need to have a job anymore, so it's very useless to him. But you can pass it on to your grandchildren.
Don't forget, listen, this is the prime time for graduating students to be writing up their resume for those job applications. So take advantage of this.
Absolutely. And then we have back to school. I'm sure is going to be coming up very soon. So I'm very curious.
Scheduled for Friday, right?
I don't know. We haven't. Is that officially announced by Apple?
No, I don't know. It's official.
All right. Well, we don't want to.
The rumor.
You're making rumors up, Frank. All right. We don't want to deal with that. Today's subject, though, is a little nuts that we're going to talk about. Definitely a political topic that we sometimes talk about here on the Think Different podcast. But we want to talk about the Apple retail specifically is having unions being formed at all different Apple stores, and one store in particular has been voted as an approval. It is now on the way to, I believe, I don't know if it's a board or basically for someone to approve that, which means that this Maryland Apple store would be the first Apple store to be under a union.
Yep.
Now, I thought it'd be best that, a lot of people, unions have been brought up a lot in the last couple of years. Amazon being the most famous, Starbucks recently now has that, and now we're at Apple Retail, and I'm talking about retail specifically. So
yes,
let's kind of break this down. Frank, you know a little bit more about the unions, and why would someone want to be in a union over what the employer offers?
Well, we got to take a step back, okay? Unions were formed in the days when the manufacturers really took advantage of the employees. They were working more than 40 hours a week. They weren't making a living wage. There were child labor. There was no insurance. There was no retirement packages, okay? So the unions were formed to give a voice to the workers collectively, to bargain for better wages, better living conditions, better working environments, insurance, retirement packages, things of that nature. Now, I would argue that at that point in time, they certainly were necessary. And they did a lot of good things over the years. At this point in time, I don't see the advantage, especially for Apple Retail, of formalizing a union, because the market demands, the work market demands that employers pay and offer benefits equal to or greater than what somebody could get in a union shop. And that's just the way the market is today. Like, for example, if Apple was to say, well, we're only paying our retail employees $5 an hour and no benefits and nothing else, just a job, then you have some grounds for forming a union. But many places that even have unions in today's environment, such as certain grocery stores, their people they join the unions, and what the management does is they work all of the employees, or most of them, under the full-time limit. So if in other words, if the limit for a full-time employee is 40 hours a week, they'll work them 38 hours a week so that they're not considered full-time and aren't eligible for benefits. Mm-hmm. So, but yet in the collective bargaining process, a lot of those issues are not addressed because those hours don't qualify them for full-time employees. So, that being said, the Apple Store in Townsend, Maryland, has decided to unionize. They voted it. They just have to verify the vote with the federal government. Mm-hmm. And they're joining, this is kind of odd for me, but it's the International Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers. Why that particular union? I don't quite understand that. But now, one of the other things that's kind of weird to me is that Apple's employees average between $17 and $30 an hour, which
I think has gone up, or is planning to go up, actually, due to this. Yeah. And the rumor was 22. Sorry, the rumor might be that 22 an hour would be the starting pay. Yeah, which is, now listen, that's for full time and part time. Mm-hmm. I defy anybody to go out there and try and find a part time job that's going to pay them
$22 an hour to start,
and not kill
and
you.
benefits.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, most part-time jobs do not include benefits. So we'll get to that a little later. But anyway, so when they do this union thing, that means also that every employee will pay union dues. Now, the IAM union dues are about $95.11 a month. Now, so if you say it's $100 a month roughly, and how it gets broken out is that there's $35 per capita tax rate per employee. The education fund gets $1. The convention fund gets $2. And how it's split, it's $56.35 is split in two ways. $17 goes to the local union hall, I guess, and $38 goes to the national union.
And is that on top of all the taxes and everything they have to pay?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, sure. You're still going to pay your federal income tax. You're still going to pay your medical. You're still going to everything, all the other things. This is over and above. Now, my question is, not that $100 a month is necessarily a large amount, but what extra are they going to get from
that
the union
$100
for that $100?
Right. I want to give a quick understanding of what Apple right now has that I think Apple Employees would say are the top benefits, which number one would be, I would say, health and fitness with their life and supplemental life insurance, disability insurance, occupational accident insurance, retiree health and medical, vacation time off, which PTO time for vacation and sick days for new hires is between 15 to 20 days per year. That's definitely been updated since we've been there, I can tell you that. Parental leave, which has 100% pay. New mothers receive 4 weeks of paid leave before giving birth and 14 weeks of maternity leave afterwards. They also get an additional 6 weeks unpaid leave, which is also optional. And they also, I believe, get to flex their time of their, randomly days if they need to take off for parental leave. For commuting, they are allowing free exclusive shuttle service to their campus, so that is something they are offering. The company also offers $100 stipend for employees using towards bus and transit costs, which I've used, not for work, but I did use it. Gym credit, which gives you a $300 gym credit per towards your health, which was a yearly thing. Stock and a stock purchase program, which gives you 50% off discounted stock. Tuition and self-improvement, which they give you a lot of skills, and the tuition costs are $5,250, which is reimbursed. Retirement, which is a matching total of 6%. So while in the company's employment, employees are offered a 50% 401k match for up to 6% of their total salary. And this doesn't include the product discounts. And for corporate employees, because a lot of these benefits are the same, no matter if you're retail or corporate, they get the subsidized meals, which are very affordable at Cafe Max, and their beer bashes that they do time to time that's completely free. So now, I just want you to understand that is everything that they get now. I don't know what changes, though, when they decide to go with the union.
Well, that's my point. I mean, you went through them relatively quickly. And there are some major things in there. Now, like you mentioned, and I have to reiterate, that entire list is available to both full-time and part-time employees. And a part-time employee at Apple is anybody that works 21 and a half hours a week. Now, I mean, excuse me if I laugh, but all those benefits and getting, let's say, a minimum salary of $20 an hour for a part-time job. Are you kidding me? Mm-hmm. So I don't see what additional benefits are going to be derived from unionizing.
And this is coming coming. They said that a lot of college students are kind of starting this, and this is what happens when you're not taught stuff in high school before going to college. Wow. And the reality is, you retired at Apple for a reason. You worked, your last employment of a job was at Apple for a lot of the perks that you were probably there for.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, you know what you didn't mention?
No.
Or maybe you did. I was going to say discounts.
Yeah, I did mention
discounts.
that.
Oh, okay. But
no, I didn't go into detail of the discounts, but the bottom line is let's just say you'll get like $1,000 off a 16-inch MacBook Pro right now. Let's just say that. So
now, they wrote a letter to Tim Cook, and it basically rehashes the Apple Credo. And they said in the letter, I want to get this quote right, which I thought was...
And by the way, while you look for that, I'm just going to mention that the main reason why is that they believe that Apple makes so much money to the point that they aren't paying their employees based on the net profit that they make. And that is why some people are fighting Apple on this. And it's only, and even at Apple corporate, they're still having this problem as well. And that's another big thing to me, is that corporate is like, well, I don't want to go back to the office and things like that. A lot of COVID has really ramped this up. Like, that's for sure.
Well, I think it's just something for them to hang their hat on. Mm-hmm. And, you had mentioned that, Apple makes all this money, and are the Apple retail employees putting out any risk of their own for the products? Apple makes the products. They do all the R&D. They do all the investing. They do all the promotion. So why should they reap the majority of the benefits? What company doesn't? That's the way. That's a capitalistic way. What's the incentive for you to invest your money, your knowledge, all of your R&D if you're not going to make that money back? Mm-hmm. Yeah, you pay your employees a fair wage, you give them good benefits. Why do certain individuals feel that they're entitled to more than that? Now, you mentioned earlier that this is coming from a lot of this is coming from college-educated people who want these unions. Now, to me, here's my take on that. A lot of these college individuals cannot find a job in their field, and they expect not to get a job where they work their way up the ladder in the corporation. They expect to get a job making millions of dollars or thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars immediately. And I just believe that they really have this false expectation that they are entitled to this. And really, let's face it. I mean, Will, you work very hard, several jobs, you earn everything you get. If you want something, you go earn it. It's not just given to you. Mm-hmm. And I just think they have this false impression that, they're entitled to this. And I don't think this union thing is going to give them what they want. I think they're going to see that the union really, especially in this day and age, is not really going to benefit the employees any more than Apple's already offering them.
Yeah, and the best thing I would love, and this was something I published on my Facebook, all about this. I don't get political, not very much so, but one of our old friends, Chris Villamil, who has been on this podcast, has been very vocal on I would say not very vocal, but he's been not happy with Apple based on, I think, his experience overall. And he suggested that what to make it fair is that we should have a current employee as well as an employee for the union, and kind of see what's fair, kind of like just to get a discussion going, which, anybody that works for the company right now is not going to talk. There's no way. This is a very sensitive subject right now. So unless someone worked at Apple while this is going on and left, that's maybe the best you can get. But it caused a lot of talking on my page, on my Facebook page, which, is, like I said, I knew it was going to get a lot of things.
Right.
Now, my biggest gripe was always the balance of, life.
Work-life. Right.
They have addressed that by saying that if you've worked the night before, there's now a certain amount of hours that you can work the next morning. Which personally, I kind of would, unless you request it. But bottom line is they're not going to have someone that worked till 10 o'clock at night work the 8 a.m. shift. That's just what they're basically going to be addressing. Which I get that. A lot of people are not me, where I would not mind that, where someone might. But, Chris, definitely, I might even have a separate podcast episode on him just to talk about it, because I think it'd be really cool just to hear his point of view. But I personally, I took advantage of everything that Apple offered me from the benefits. I don't think a lot of people do. And my fear is, well, if they go with this union, what do they lose? That's the only thing I don't know if I have the answer.
Well, don't forget that what Apple would then have to do is they have to go and they have to strike a collective bargaining agreement with the union, which essentially is a contract. So the union reps they're going to ask for certain benefits. And of course, Apple will negotiate. They're going to ask high. Apple's going to reduce them down.
Yeah, they're going to ask for like $30 an hour. Watch, I know they're going to at least ask that.
And I don't know, but I have this letter here, and what I want to do, Will, maybe you can post this letter afterwards. But really, the letter kind of goes over the Apple credo, and they're handing it back to Tim. But the last paragraph says, to be clear, the decision to form a union is about us as workers gaining access to the rights that we do not currently have. We are respectfully asking that Apple follow the same neutrality requirements as laid out in its supplier code of conduct under the section Freedom of Association and Collective Bargaining, so that as employees, we can obtain our rights to information and collective bargaining that the law affords us through unionization. Now, in this letter, they don't really state what they're asking for. What they want to gain access to rights that they don't currently have. Like what?
Well, I think the biggest thing was, so compensation is the number one reason due to inflation, which Apple did give them a 10% increase in pay to everybody at Apple.
And they also issue restrictive stock to other people. And also in another article, they mentioned that Tim Cook earned more than 14,000 times the average pay of the average Apple employee. Now, I don't know why they even mention that, because what relevance does that have? What CEO do you know that doesn't make how many thousands of times the average employee's salary? Right. It doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. And like I said, listen, he has a lot more risk on the line than you or I do as Apple employees. We put in a 40-hour. Do you think the CEO puts in a 40-hour week? Anybody that's worked in a corporate environment knows that's, yes, they get the perks, but also, that's where all the pressure is. Mm-hmm. But anyway,
I mean, so I wanted to see, is there anything else that you wanted to, I mean, so just a couple things notes-wise. There are other Apple stores fighting this right now. There was an Atlanta Apple store, which a vote never went through. There was one in...
Well, that was just postponed.
Postponed. Grand Central is also going through a union, which has a lot of employees there. A lot. That's a big one if they win that one. You know, well, and I think the trend's just going to continue forward. I think they just people want more flexible retail schedules, which I completely understand. That is a argument I think that Apple needs to offer. My argument would be to Apple, if I would talk to HR, say, let us have one weekend off. Give us at least a Saturday or Sunday, a guaranteed weekend off. One time a month or something.
The schedule that I had, I only had.
You were part-time though. That I can't compare that to you because you were a part-timer. Okay. Right. So I was a full-timer. I'm talking about part-timers. Your schedule is whatever it is because you can kind of make it. And you were lucky that you had a set schedule everywhere you went. They let you do it because your store managers were cool with that. And they were understanding with that, So if other managers are not being flexible with that, then, that's where people fight back. Where I think like if I was thinking at our Apple store at the time that we were there, and let's say that this vote happened, I wouldn't vote for the union. Right. Because I don't think I'm being treated unfairly. Would I say that, the best thing you should do in result of this is offer more work-life balance? I would strongly recommend you look for that. If that means you're hiring more part-time employees to work weekends, then hire more part-time employees to work weekends, just to cover us. Mm-hmm. That's fair, right?
Yeah, but I mean, as far as benefits go, I don't see.
No, I don't know about that one. That's the confusing part for me. But I'm sure there are other employees. So I'm going to try to see if I can get Chris to come on to the podcast. Whether it's a bonus episode or anything, I'd love to hear him because I know he's a little more on the union side than he would be on our side.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny that you mentioned it because I was just going to say, or not earlier, I was thinking about it that we might want to get or try to get somebody that's more pro-union and see what their views are.
Well, they had to work at Apple. I don't want to find anybody who doesn't.
Oh, yeah, right.
So that's why I thought he might be the best one. So we'll try to see if we can get him on. But is there anything you want to follow up with, Frank, on this? Anything you want to, any other things you have article-wise that would be able to add something to this? I mean, clearly people could see our position of me and you are not for union. I wouldn't vote for it on there, but I would think that I would hope there would be some change from that. So
there was just the dues things that's going to, and again, it's not like an astronomical amount, but it's still an additional cost to an employee. So if you think you're going to gain money, you still are going. It's going to cost you $100.
And I hope they realize that. I'm very curious of what they're going to have to pay. That first check that they have to cut in Maryland, I would love to know what that's going to look like.
Well, now the other thing, I was talking to a couple of people, and they were saying that usually when a union first comes in, all of the employees don't have to pay what I'll call like an initiation fee. Mm-hmm. After that, when a new employee comes in, they have to pay an initial fee of several $100s to join the union, plus the monthly.
And do they have a choice, or is that a choice, or is that they're all forced into it?
That's a good question.
No, I have good questions, Frank.
I don't know. I like
that wouldn't be fair. I mean, I'll be honest. That wouldn't be fair.
If you're in a union shop, you have to join a union. That's right. Okay. I mean, that's it. And if the Apple retail store is a union, you got to join a union, because then you keep how is your salary and your pay structure going to
it's going to change? That would cause a work environment problem.
Sure. And again, this is only for hourly employees. Salaried employees, of course, are non-union.
There's only one in that store that's like that. So that would be the store leader.
Right. Right.
You know,
right. Like where I used to work in the publishing industry, they had unions for different groups. Okay, but as soon as you became a salaried employee, that's it. You're done.
Yep. By the way, Jeanette, who I don't know if you remember Jeanette, but she is now a store leader at Sagemore.
Get out, really?
Yeah,
Wow.
it's amazing. So she actually, for those obviously no one knows who that is, but basically she worked at Cherry Hill with me when I first started, and she was a specialist, and she's been there since I worked at Cherry Hill, and now here we are, 8 years later, she is now a store leader at that store, which is a tremendous accomplishment. So I just think that, in the retail, you could really get to that level if you really, really work hard. And she's always been working hard. So, I mean, I think she's tremendous. And I'm so proud of her. There's a lot of growth within the Apple store. To see a lot of people like our man Zuber, now a lead over at, one of the other stores, which is great. I got to give him a call. I'd love to hear his union stuff on this. But yeah, I'm so proud that a lot of the people I worked with, my colleagues who I have a lot of respect for, doing pretty well.
That's good. That's good to hear. Mm-hmm. And that's always been one of the things with me in the Apple retail world is there is limited progression in the store. Mm-hmm. But if you persevere, just like anywhere else, if you have your eye on that store in that position, if you continually work for it, chances are somewhere along the line you're going to get it.
Well, we'll see what happens when this progresses forward. I'm very interested to see what the next steps are, and very curious to see someone's first paycheck in there.
Yes.
See what happens. But a very interesting episode. I'm hoping to get a follow up with one of our former peeps that used to come on our show, Chris Ville, and we'll see if we can get him on.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah. But I thank everybody for joining us here for the Think Different podcast. We really do appreciate all the support. Leave us a 5-star review if you can. And, of course, watch all of our YouTube videos. And we'll keep trucking forward. And, by the way, if you bought a M2 MacBook Pro, why? Thank you very much. And I love every single one of you.